All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Thursday night Fireside Chats. And I like to bring on past guests and past folks that I have interviewed in the past. And we just get to talk about whatever that is happening in our world so far. And so we've been having a whole bunch of fun time, at least last week we did, and the week before we did. And so if you are wanting to participate with us, like inside of here. We'd love to have you and ask you some questions and have you just be part of the list. I will go ahead and put um, the link to join us live if you want to in the chat, and we will just kind of go from there. So we'll see. Let's see. I think we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we'll see what happens. So today I brought on JM, and we have had a couple conversations before. And so you live in Florida, correct?
I'm in Boca, yeah, man. We have
Yes, yes,
cold
yes.
weather coming down here. It's my
The
kid's
cold
got a
weather.
really funny thing: extreme cold weather warning for tomorrow because it's going to be below 50 degrees.
Uh-oh, extreme cold. Oh my gosh. But you guys have been having well, Miami's been having some success with some football. Is that game tonight or I don't even know when?
Monday night, the
Oh, it's
Hurricanes
Monday
are
night.
going. Yeah,
Okay.
man. Yeah.
Oh, uh-oh. I saw how it is Indiana has decided they wanted to be a football team. So
I'll tell you what, it's one of actually Indiana. It's one of the coolest sports stories. I don't know if people are really like into football. It is one of the coolest sports stories that you've ever can see because it is the absolute doldrums, the worst of the worst football
Mhm.
team. And Signetti has completely shifted the culture. He's figured out this loophole, and the average age of Indiana football players is 23 years old. I'm a Green Bay Packer
Wow.
fan. My professional football team is just over 25 years old. So he's figured out this way to through the transfer portal and through obviously a culture change. It's really cool. So even if you're not a big football fan, watching somebody like Indiana, it's a cool story, man, because if it had Alabama on the side of the helmet, we might be calling this the best college football team we've seen in a long time. That's how dominant they've been.
Well, I want to just talk about that a little bit because when you think of being a college age student and you're saying the average age is 23,
Mm.
that means that the kids that are just got out of high school are not part of the program yet. So is he just getting transfers from junior colleges, or how's he doing that? What's the secret in this?
Well, yeah, again, I don't fully understand other than so my son does play college tennis and we are familiar with the transfer portal because he actually did transfer after his freshman year.
Okay.
What's happened is it's kind of crazy. There's two things going on. You have the transfer portal, which allows basically free agency at any time. If you really want to move, you kind of can,
Hmm.
which
Okay.
they look, there needs to be some checks and balances. But here's the other thing that's happening with NIL money in there. Now there's kids that literally they're making more money in the college than they would on their rookie contract in the NFL if they were to be so fortunate to get drafted. And
Yeah.
so what's happened is it's some kids that normally may have gone to the draft, they might be
Hmm.
staying back, going to several different schools, transferring in. And so what he's found is, look, I'm going to look for those four-star recruits that are in their senior year or maybe their even graduate assistant year. That's kind of what I'm focused on. It's never been done. It's really interesting to watch. So, good for him. I mean, he figured out a way to get Indiana football to be relevant, which it's remarkable. It's a total basketball school, and yet here they are, one of the best football teams we've seen in college in a long time.
Yeah. I think of it as a college athlete. When I went to school, and that's just back when there you couldn't even get paid money to be in the Olympics at that back in those days, right? It was all amateur athletics, and it was truly, um, where yeah, you couldn't dream of making any money in college, and then you start out because you were trying to get an education, and you were a student athlete, and which I get. Uh, and then you think of like today and how it's progressed. Well, like the NIL, where you go, wait a minute. Well, these colleges are making so much money that the athlete should be getting it, and I 100% agree with it because it would have been super nice. I guess what I don't understand because I haven't been following it as well, or would love to time to talk about a little bit is, what is the education process look like? If they're going to several schools, are they getting their degrees? Which today in today's world, I think it's more vocational than anything. Like, so if your vocation is going to be football for your first 5 or 6 years, then yeah, go get somebody for it, and that's your vocation. And you can go back to school and learn a trade. I don't necessarily know if um, when we think about football, think about college or philosophy degrees, I guess, or degrees that, aren't specific. Like, if I'm going to go be a doctor, I need to go to school. I need to go for as many years as I need to be able to do it. But if I'm going to go be a carpenter or work in construction, or be a plumber or work in, I do I need a degree that teaches me, all this philosophy, and maybe you can kind of help me through the process, or what your thoughts are. And Rishi, the we got the Dutch mentor on here too, so you can add in too if you like to be part of our conversation. But what's your thoughts on how that whole education process in America is working now?
Well, I mean, man, you're asking a big question, which
I
is
know.
my wife and I talk about this often because she's very, very pro college. Now, I am too, right? I played basketball in college. I love college. If I could go back right now, I love the college experience.
Mhm.
But here's what I would say. How many people have we seen today that are running a huge part of our economy that never finished school, maybe never
Yeah,
even went to college? And I
yeah.
think, you asked off air, like, how much are you talking about AI? We're seeing right now how many millionaires are being created utilizing AI before they even get out of high school. I mean,
Hmm.
our economy has shifted and changed so quickly that college isn't maybe as necessary, quote unquote, and I'm using air quotes because the landscape has changed. Now, do I think it's a good thing? Of course I do. I wouldn't take back the 4 years, and arguably I'd tell my if I could talk to my 18 or 22-year-old self, I'd say stay for 6, stay for 7. Like, it's the best time you can have. But now I think my younger son, I've known he's going to be an entrepreneur ever since he was like 3 years old. And I don't know, man. He is college for him. I don't know. We're going to find out because I think he's got options to go to college, and that would be awesome. Or there's options for him to go ahead and build businesses and focus on that. So I don't know. We talk
Yeah.
about this frequently, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think what's your intention? And the one thing I told both my sons: if you go to college, go with an intention. Go meet as many people as you can. Go enjoy the experience. If you
Yeah.
learn some things along the way, that's cool too.
Yeah, I think for me, what athletics did for me, because I was a special ed child, or I was deemed special ed at the school that I went to, and so I couldn't read in third grade. They were struggling to teach me how to do it. They took me and put me in special class during the day, and then I was reading. I thought I was reading pretty good by sixth grade, and making sure that I could get through it. And then I ended up, still staying in special ed classes. But so I wasn't going to college. I told my mom, "Mom, there is absolutely no way you're going to get me to go to college and have other kids make fun of me as an adult, as they've made fun of me as a high school, I guess a high school student." But I was a good athlete. I just happened to, get genes from grandma and grandpa or whatever it was, and was able to go to college on a track scholarship. And then as a result of doing that, my world expanded. Now, my high school was pretty big. My high school had 3,800, where our graduating class was almost 800, I think 830 kids or something like that. So but I don't know if I know any of those. But I do know the folks that I interacted with in college. I got to go to Europe. I got to, the summers between our college season, I was able to run in Europe and run behind, and just get to know people and network. And that was my college experience, is networking. And then I got the opportunity after I got my master's to actually go back and teach at that university, and coach track for 15 years at the collegiate level, and then still got to travel and network and all those things that it's allowed me to do. And like you said, I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. I mean, that is who part of my identity is this college, and I've still been coaching track now for 38 years now at the high school level. But so I start thinking about, like a team, like, why would I not? I mean, if the league minimum in the NFL is $850,000, and I can make that as a 19-year-old or 20-year-old, and I don't know how the agency works. Like, I know in the NFL, like, you have other than who's the quarterback for Baltimore that doesn't have an agent.
Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, Lamar. So Lamar doesn't have an agent. But other than that, almost everybody has an agent. The athletes that I've had that have played in the NFL and athletes that I've known, all of them have agents, and then they got the NFL. Does that happen in the college world too, in the NIL? Do they have people that are helping them with their money? Because as a rookie, they spend up all their money in the NFL. I can't imagine as a freshman that's 18 years old that, and not every college athlete gets $850,000. I promise you, if you're listening to this, I promise you that's not happening. But the ones that do, right, or even have any money coming in, that's not above what it costs to go to college, how do they get that help?
Well, again, another challenge. So you brought up the Miami Hurricanes. Carson Beck he's either a fourth or fifth year senior this year. So he went from Georgia to Miami. Now his NIL deal is $4 or $4.5 million in college. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does he have an agent? I'm sure he does. I have no question. I don't know his specifics, but I would hope. The challenge I would say that is presented is, do you actually know? Does anybody actually look out for you? And one of somebody I grew up with actually went he got picked number 2 in the NFL, and I watched him not have great advisors around him. And so this is actually a whole different subject, which is really the education, on money when it comes to principles, and they're not teaching us this stuff in high school. Even in college, you don't get this great curriculum on how to be financial stewards of your money. So it is challenging, right? You have 18-year-olds making a ton of money, and if they don't have great people surrounding them, they're going to make some bad decisions, as I'm sure all of us would at 18, 19, 20. So there's a lot to talk about in this very subject in itself, of who is helping with financial literacy, who is advising some of these kids so they don't blow through all their money. But it's fortunate that these kids are able to do it, and yet you want to make sure that they're setting themselves up for success, whether they make it to the professional rank or not. So, yeah, man, it's the vast majority of student athletes aren't getting much money. We are talking about the upper echelon, but it's an interesting thing that's happened, and it's completely changed every college sport because of NIL, because of the transfer portal. And they definitely need to do some refining so you don't have kids skipping all over. There's a kid I think it's his 6th or 7th college.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And it's pretty wild because, again, it was COVID. That was another part of why he ended up having so many schools and being in school so long. But imagine that. How could those credits transfer going to 6 different schools? At that point, is it really even, are you being a student at all? I mean, it's hard for me to fathom that you were able to transfer credits that much. So yeah, it's a fascinating subject.
Well, I'll shift it a little bit because I didn't want to just have the show, talk about athletics here, but I am curious of college today and with AI, and I think about, what skills you have two kids, one getting ready to go to college, one that's in college, and I can think about what I was learning in college. I can think of like when I was teaching in college. I can think about through that whole process, my kids who went to college, because my youngest is now how old is she? She's 29, and I have a son who's 38. They all have experienced college in some way. Not all of them, almost all of them have finished, and so, but it was as I think about what their degree allows them to do, or like my daughter who just got done with being a radiology tech. So this last school she went to, she is now doing working at a hospital and then I think a doctor's office as a radiology tech. After she realized that she started out at a photography school and just trying to find herself, which I think that's what college is great for, is trying to figure out what you're great at. But now we add in this caveat or this component called AI, which says, are you here to learn? Are you here to give information? Because I can think of exams that I've given and going, that exam is worthless right now. I'm not trying to check for information anymore. I could care less if you know it because you can look it up any second that you want to. How are you dealing with your kids in this era of AI going, okay, honey, your son, what do we do to make sure that you are equipped for this
Yeah.
world?
I mean, for me, I've told my kids, look, AI is not going anywhere. It's definitely here to stay. It's going to evolve and change, and it's going to only get better. So I am very pro get comfortable using it, right? Start
Yeah.
easy. Working with Chat GPT is maybe your entry point, and then get into some of the other. There's so much AI out there now.
Mhm.
I think the only people that get left behind are the ones that are like, well, I'm just not that tech savvy, which by the way, I fall in that category. I'm not very tech savvy. But what I ask my kids to do, I'm like, look, you always need to be able to critically think.
Mhm.
I want you to have that skill. I want you to be able to critically think as you give prompts to the AI, how
Mhm.
you're going to use it. So uh, that's been my take. Like, and I use it every single day. I don't type an email any longer. I dictate into the microphone. I allow the AI to spit something out. Then I refine it, and then I end up sending it off. And again, that's a simple thing that I do every single day, but it saves me, I don't know, maybe an hour a day of literally
Mhm.
sheer typing. And so I think for my kids, what I'm looking at, I can't say, hey, you should go get this degree and this is your guaranteed job. I don't think any of us can say that. We don't know in 5 years what that's going to look like. I know it's going to continue to accelerate rapidly, but the ability to have critical thinking, to be aware, like have some actual awareness, personal awareness, self-awareness. I think those are the skill sets that are gonna really separate us, people. And so that's really what I focused on with my kids is, look, network with human beings, learn how to build relationships, learn how to critically think, and have some self-awareness. And then the AI is going to take care of, like you said, the rote memory stuff, all that stuff. It doesn't mean anything anymore. We don't need to fill our brain with that stuff. But so that's kind of what I've focused on with my kids.
Yeah, I start thinking about like how this whole you know technology thing works. I have a son-in-law so that is getting his doctorate now, and he started a new program this last year. And the university he's going to is telling him to use AI to do most of the doctorate. Like when I did
Mm.
mine, it's like, no, you got to write everything, and there's all this plagiarism, there's all the da 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 da. They say, yeah, we want your ideas to be there, but like, so the lit review, so that you have to read, I don't know, hundreds of articles that you have to read as you're working on your PhD, and they're saying have the AI synthesize all these articles. Not only have it synthesized, but have it find the articles that are pertinent to your topic, have the AI synthesize it, and then read the synthesis of the article. You probably don't need to read the whole article. Well, for me, they gave us some of that. When I first started my doctor back in the 90s, we were still using the card catalogs where you would go through, because that was before the internet. So you're like in the library all day long, going through the card catalogs, going to pull the actual magazine off the shelf, and then going there. And then by the time I finished, it was, hey, we're online, we're doing stuff. But I think education is changing, where it's like, wait, we're realizing that, like you said, AI isn't going anywhere. AI isn't leaving us to our own devices. I mean, it is, you don't know how to use the AI, you don't get to perform in our society, because that's who's going to have the jobs, right? As jobs go away, because they will. And right now, I think what we thought it would be a lot of blue collar jobs that were disappearing. And what we're starting to find is white collar jobs are the ones that are not needed. Uh, because the robots haven't evolved fast as the rest of the technology. So, the assembly line type things are some of the jobs that require robot. But I guess they're actually putting suits on people now. I'm talking about training the AI, right? That of people who are doing a job, and so they put the suit on them and does all their movements. It learns how they're doing the job they're doing. But I guess the killer is let's say you make 1,000 robots that are doing that same job. You have the human that shows you how to do it. Then as soon as they hit save and download, it downloads to 1,000 robots, and now 1,000 robots all have that same skill. Where instead of a training program, what are you going to do? Well, I got a workforce now of 1,000 people instead of 3 that I got to train for 3 years to figure out how to do whatever the skill set is if it's a robot doing it.
I mean, look, it's so accelerated, and these robots don't need to take a break. They don't need to go on vacation. They don't need to, go to the restroom. Like, and that's the reality. Like you said, I think both white collar and blue collar, you're seeing it. That I saw the other day, they have now roofing. Like that was one of those. I thought, well, roofers. No, now they have robots and machines that literally are doing roofing. So I think we're foolish to not say, look, our world's going to look vastly, radically different 5 years from now, 2 years from now. I don't think it's a dystopian thing. Like, nobody's going to have jobs, and I think our economy is just going to shift and change. And I think our ability to adapt is really important, because oftentimes people don't like change, right? And so this is what I talk to my kids about all the time. Look, guys, ultimately, if you look at it, how does it upgrade your life? Like for me, AI allows me to spend more time doing either the work that really matters to me or really moves the needle in my business, or maybe I can spend more time with my family. And for me, I'm all for it. That's awesome. That's perfect. Am I foolish enough to think that as a coach someday I could be completely replaced? I'm not. That's not something that frightens me. I assume it will happen at some point. When will that day come? I don't know. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue to learn and iterate and work with the tools that are given to me, because I don't build the technology. I wish I had that, brother. If I could go back in time and say, JM, I wish you could really love technology. That's what I would have told my 10-year-old self. Like, go into technology. I've never really had that. So for my kids, I'm like, guys, you have to be comfortable with technology. You absolutely, even if you're not passionate about it, you really need to immerse yourself with AI and with computers, and that's probably going to go away too, because robots will be able to do that too, but we need to be able to function with it.
Yeah. Well, as I think, I don't know who I was listening to, but 8 to 10 million truck drivers, Uber drivers, taxi drivers, are in our country right now that are driving these vehicles back and forth. And, I go to Vegas not too long ago, and now there's a car that doesn't even have a steering wheel, brake. It's all internal. and going. So those jobs are going to eventually probably accelerated go away for a while. What are we doing for preparing in our country for when that happens? The trucking companies are going to put AI bot inside of a truck, and it's going to drive and never go to the bathroom. It doesn't have limitation on hours that it could drive. It go 24/7. It's going to deliver the things that we need. But now, because jobs to me, and we both are in the human side of folks, and I think that's where we're going to be very good. But jobs have meaning to us, especially here in America, because we ask each other, well, what is it you do? I mean, that's one of the first questions, and it's the identity of so many folks. Then and now we're going to displace so many of these folks. What are they going to do? I know they're talking about the UBI from our government, or from, that everybody gets one. I don't have meaning. So what happens, and how do I create these relationships that are going to now become the most important? So I think for a person like yourself or myself, where we deal with relationships, we're going to be fine. But how are we going to help all these folks that don't have meaning?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you said this word Uber, and just think about this. If we go back, I don't know when Uber officially started, but I don't know, early 2000s. I don't
Yeah,
recall it being
this
around. So it didn't
century.
exist at that time, right? And so then jobs were created that now will be taken away by autonomous driving. But if we go back to, I don't know, 1999, Uber didn't exist. So there was a whole sector of people. And my point to this is, I'm sure when Uber came out, taxi drivers, I remember they were kind of upset about it. And guess what? They've continued to survive. And
Mhm.
now Uber is probably going to get taken over, as you said, Waymo or whatever the autonomous driving things are.
2009. I just looked it up.
2009.
2009.
Wow. Wow. So
Only
it
15
hasn't
years.
so it hasn't been that long, and yet but I guess my point to all of this is we quickly do adapt. That's the one thing I will say with human beings. We may resist the
Mhm.
change. And it's kind of the Blockbuster Netflix idea, right? Like, had Blockbuster, it's such a fascinating story because Blockbuster literally had every chance to continue the market domination that they had, but they weren't
Mhm.
willing to adapt. That we were going to keep this storefront, and that's the way it goes. And everybody loves to come get videos in the store, and then obviously streaming and everything that's happened since, right?
Mhm.
And so I think the ability to adapt quickly is going to be the most important thing for the people that are going to get displaced from jobs. Like, to say I'm a truck driver, or to say I'm this. Okay, well, you might have been. Well, now what does that look like? Now what are you going to do? Because we need to be able to shift and pivot faster than we did before. And I think that's what we all need to just kind of come to grips with. Like, look, financial advisors at some point, it's probably not going to be that necessary, especially when you have AI that can calculate everything like that. I mean, and they can predict, and they can read the analysis, they can look at historical returns. Like, it's not a gut feeling. They're doing all the analytics for you. So that's going to radically shift. And so it's really going to be interesting to see those that decide that I'm this, and now I'm out of a job, and now I'm going to be a victim, or okay, I'm going to figure out my new place in this world. And I think, again, the ability to adapt and change is going to be really important if you don't want to get left behind or feel like I just don't belong in this world anymore.
Yeah, I absolutely think we're going to be able to adapt. There's just going to be a transition period that I think our kids and our grandkids are going to have to live through, because in history, I mean, this isn't something new. Whenever technology has come, whether it's the 10th century or the 21st century, we adapt and we figure it out. Whether it's well blubber that now we can use oil, or whether it's a thrasher machine that cuts wheat, that you don't have to have as many people out in the field, doing agricultural stuff. But I do see where folks, when they don't have meaning and feeling and a
Mm.
position in life, it seems like they get violent. And they, and they were burning, factories and all kind of stuff because, they brought in some tools or some machines that would actually work. And like, no, you're not going to use a machine over us. And so that is like for me saying, okay, if my job, I think the number one skill you can have in the world right now is the ability to learn rapidly, not to have knowledge, not to be able to go on Jeopardy and recite all the knowledge that you have in your head. That's not the world anymore. The world, because everybody can look at the Jeopardy answers probably quick enough to answer, during the show, and then have it, answer the question and then say the answer is however it is. But when we think about how do I learn, how do I adapt and take the technology, not to ask it rote questions, but to ask it, how do I do this skill? And then now, how do I interact with other humans? Because humans aren't going away. Even if you have 10 million or billion robots, you're still going to have 8 billion people that need love, connection, a reason to be here. Think of, significance, all of Tony Robbins's, 6 human needs are all going to be part of what people need. And we're going to have to adapt and have jobs that are around those things. Yeah, I just don't know how, I'm thinking through how am I using AI? Because I use it just like you're using it. Like, yes, it saves me time on the emails, but then I think it's saving me time on the emails that AI is generating that I got to read in the first place. Because everybody's emails just got longer because they're
Yeah.
using AI to write them. So now I got to take my time to read them. So now I have an AI bot read it, synthesize. We're just right back to where we were. And am I really saving time? You know, how are you in thinking of your business and the things you do and the books that you're writing and getting all those things out to folks with AI being part of that equation?
Yeah, so I talk about two different worlds that I live in when it comes to generating revenue. I
Mhm.
have the active side, which is really where I'm diving in with companies and I'm helping them take the revenue to the next level. And so I'm only taking on 6 total clients on that side because again, there's only so much time that I have. And right now I have 5. I'm only looking for one more, and it's going awesome. I love the work. It does fill my bucket to your point of fulfillment.
Mhm.
Then there's the but again, let's say there's a total of 6 total companies, and then so how many lives can I really impact inside of that? I mean, you could, I guess, say they're impacting these lives, which is impacting those. But the challenge is, Let's Go Win, my company, it exists to inspire people to live their best lives. And so I just was having this conversation with my marketing director. I'm like, look, we have to figure out how to serve one to many where it's this information is readily available. And so, and I'm not suggesting I've figured it out because again, I'm not a marketing whiz by any stretch of the imagination. And that's what I've really been working on the passive side of things to take some of these ideas and get them in a proper format that people can consume the information, that they can utilize it on a daily basis. And so that's really my task for this year is to build out that passive side of things so that, for instance, my morning routine, right? Everybody that I've ever given it to, they're like, "Oh my God, I feel so good doing this." I'm like, "Awesome." But they hadn't been able to put it all together. So it's kind of selfish of me not to be able to deliver it in a way that everyone can have access to it. And so that's one example of things that I'm trying to bring out to, my audience and other people that I can reach to say, here's something that really allows me to show up as the best version of myself. Here's and you can literally follow the videos and go. So that's one of the big projects I've been working on is just filming that and making it so it's really palatable that as you can watch it, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's not like a task, it's something I want to do. So I hope that answers your question. But that's really what I've been working on.
Yeah, no, it does. It really answers my question, for me, because I'm thinking that you just brought up morning routine, and this year, so now I've been doing my morning routine for a long time, but now I decided here, and as we're recording this, if you guys are watching this, we're at the second week in January 2026. But I decided this year I'm going to turn on the I don't know, the live version of YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and do my routine every morning live. And so,
Cool.
and it's not the exercise part, because I'm not going to have you walk around the block with me for 3 miles and not and that's where I'm getting, where I'm listening to podcasts and I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. But I start out like drinking water. I start out, doing breathing exercise. Then I go into a devotional, and then I'm doing a gratitude journal, and then doing affirmations, and talking about a word of the day and all those kinds of things. And I'm just doing it live. So far, it's been very rewarding for me. I don't know if it'll be rewarding if anybody wants to take it out there and watch it, but the same thing. And so I guess what both of us has established, that a morning routine is super important. And now we're saying, okay, if you want to move and win and be at this level, what you do every day when you get up is super important. And I don't remember that as much when I was a kid, or I don't know if I saw my dad doing or my mom doing a morning routine, or or even in college it was like, okay, when we can get up, we can get up, or then. But now it's become part of who I am. For you, what was, I mean, it's important. How did you decide it was important? And then has this been something your whole life, or is this like me, where it's 20
Yeah,
years, I guess, instead
no,
of
it's a good
60?
question. It's again, it's evolved, it's shifted, it's changed, it's certainly
Mhm.
grown more over the last 15 years. I mean, generationally wise, like my folks, that giving self-love and care, that wasn't even on the radar, right? That wasn't like you know how you give self-love, you go to work and you take care of your family.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
And I think we obviously learned from that. We watched that and okay, that's what we learned. And then you start to realize, well, wait a minute, there's burnout, there's
yeah,
unhappiness, there's depression. In the case of my dad, like I lost him to suicide. And so it's one of those things that, and I'm not suggesting that a morning routine is going to solve all that. That's not what
no,
I'm saying. But what I am saying is maybe it eliminates some of the anxiety that people have. Maybe it eliminates some of the depression. And you talked about fulfillment. I will tell you my specific morning routine, my 40 minutes is really what I've boiled it down to. Because it used to be like 2.5 hours long, Brian. Like it was crazy. Now there's only four non-negotiables for me, and it's 40 minutes long. And it's my breath work into my meditation, into yoga, and then qigong. Like 40 minutes total. That is the arguably the most bliss fulfilling part of my day every single day. And it's almost it's hard to explain. It's really difficult to put into words the abilities and what comes from it. So I don't know the exact moment that I was like, I need to have a morning routine. I just know that as I wanted to show up as the best version of myself, as I wanted to be able to pour into myself so I could pour into others. And the rise and grind mentality that I believed in early in my career, it just wasn't serving me any longer. And I've watched it not serve a lot of people. So I think for me, I finally said, how can I show up as the very, very, very best version of myself, full of energy, full of love, full of the things that are important to me. And I've found what that is for me. Um, but I don't know when that moment was. It's continued to bring, I've always worked out, that was a part of it, but this has become more of a really being intentional about, taking care of my mind, my body, and my soul. And then so yeah, it's important, and I wish more people would do it.
yeah. And what I guess I would love for people, or as I'm talking to people or I'm coaching people, I want you to realize you have a routine. It's
Yes.
just, is your routine intentional and is it serving you in a way that can make your day better, make your day flow, make your day easier, make your day blissful, make your day feel fulfilled? Because whether you're getting up, getting a cup of coffee, stopping at the donut store, and doing whatever it is that you do, you're probably habitual in doing the same thing every day. Now it's time to make that shift and say, okay, I'm going to do this intentionally because I know that these things bring me joy. And if I can get to that part of it, then I can serve others. We talk a lot now about our cups being full or half empty, and even with the love languages, we talk, Chapman, if your tank is empty or is it full? And I see so much of, how do I fill me and love me first, so that then I have that capacity to go out and serve others.
Mm.
And you talked about burnout earlier. And I think a lot of the burnout can come from trying to serve without doing the things that bring you. I mean, is that kind of how I think that's what we're both saying, that we're getting out of this routine that we do every single morning?
Yeah,
Um,
1,000%. Like my mom is a great example. She's a wonderful woman. She has very, very maternal, and it was always take care of everyone else first,
mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Take care of
yeah,
the kids, the house, the dog, the husband. I mean, name a thing. She put everyone else first. The problem with that is there's a real shelf life to that. Now, she's a tough woman. She is absolutely continued to persevere, but that's not why we're meant to live. We're meant to create and be abundant. That's how we are. So, look, if I could go back in time and have the knowledge I do now to say, Mom, when I was 10 years old, you know, let's take care of you first, so then you can take care of us. I would have done that, but I didn't know that at the time,
yeah,
right? I the modeled behavior was she got up and she took care of everyone. And it's really remarkable when I look back at it, but maybe she's that much younger, more vibrant now had she done some of these things for herself. And we'll never know, right? You can't rewind time. But what I do know is that feeling that I get. I mean, it is just every single morning for 40 minutes. It's not, utopia, but it's close, man. I go into this thing where I'm just like, it's really, really awesome to be in that space. And then it allows me, by 9 a.m. basically is when that routine is done. Now whatever's happening, the world could be falling apart, and I'm ready to deal with it, versus not doing anything, waking up to negativity, craziness going on. I just wasn't dealing with that very well. So I think that's the whole point for me, is like I want to feel that way so that I can show up and be the best dad, employer, whatever hat I'm wearing. That's the whole point for me.
yeah. Just one of the things that I think it grounds us in. I don't know what it grounds us, the word for what it grounds us in, but it's when adversity comes, and it will, because that's part of the human existence. Our ability to walk with that adversity and the ability to get through it. I tell the story all the time when I was growing up in the, as a kid and going to church. And this might even been in college, when I was going to the Baptist church. And in the Baptist Black church, there's the elder ladies that maybe their husband has passed away or they were single moms. Something. They all sit in the first like three rows with all this white on and all these hats on, and they are the ones that spur on the preacher. Like, yeah, if the preacher's talking, there's voices coming from those first three rows. And Mrs. Johnson was always on the end, and I would walk by her and I would greet her and I would talk to her and I would say, "Mrs. Johnson, how you doing today?" And she'd say, "I'm going through it, going through it. It's all right, baby. I'm just going through it." And what I realized is Miss Johnson never got through it. However many years I was at church, whatever the adversity was, she never got through it. And I'm thinking, well, why? I don't think our lives are designed not to get through our challenges or get through our, that's where we are. And so part of this grounding thing that happens every day is allows us to say, hey, the adversity is not me. This is me. And so now I'm going to get through whatever I am because I've detached myself so much from what that problem is, that I can get through it. I mean, are you finding that in some of the things or some of the way that you're coaching folks or?
Yeah, look, suffering's an option. It's you can choose to suffer or not. And people might hear that and go, no, baloney. It's just true. Like,
Yeah.
and here's what I will tell you. There's only 5 things human beings have to do: eat, breathe, drink, sleep, eliminate waste. Like whatever I missed, like there's shelter. There's like 5 things you have to do. Everything else, quite literally everything else, is a choice. And
Mm.
so I'm not saying it's easy, right? Like losing somebody really close to you. Yes, that I'm sure that hurts and I'm sure there's some suffering, but it is your choice to continue to suffer in that way, or it's your choice to choose to be grateful for the time you had with them. And if you're sick, right, you could choose to be like, I'm sick and my goodness, woe is me. Or you could say, I'm so grateful for the what I had. It truly is a choice. And again, much, much, much wiser people like Buddha and people that have done these things, they've talked about this. But when you really boil it down to the simplistic, it's like, look, it is a choice. Everything that you're going through, you can look in the mirror and say, I'm choosing to do this, or I can choose not to. And that's the beautiful thing. And you said this thing, it's literally why I do meditation is I want to respond. I don't want to react to this stuff because, like you said, adversity's coming, guys. You shouldn't be surprised. But how are you going to respond to it? Or are you going to react to it and be emotional and all the things that happen? I don't want to do that. So I think a lot of it is the reframing, like Mrs. Johnson. I'm going through it. And maybe for her, that was meaning I'm feeling all the things that I want to feel. Or maybe for her, it was, oh man, it's just life is tough. I don't know because I didn't meet Mrs. Johnson.
It was life
But
is tough.
life is tough. Okay. And so that was an option, right? That she
Yeah,
chose.
yeah,
And that was,
absolutely.
because really, if you think about it, human beings, we operate on 2 things. We avoid pain or we seek pleasure. 90% of the time we're trying to avoid pain, right? And sometimes we seek pleasure. But it is funny how Mrs. Johnson she wasn't avoiding the pain. She was actually just wallowing in it to a degree. And that's a choice. And that's her choice and that's fine. I just choose not to live that way.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a skill and a muscle that is being practiced every morning for however many years you've been doing it. And people think, well, I'll just start and then I'll be okay. And I'm not going to practice this ability to respond when I've been reacting for the last 30 years of my life. And all of a sudden I think I'm going to just turn a switch and I'm just going to start responding. And it's through these practices that are helpful. And I think of like, when companies are doing all these things or they're saying we're helping our employees or we're going to, we're entrepreneurs and we're trying to help ourselves, making sure that we have somebody or something. I don't want to say, talk to Chat GPT and it's going to, solve all your your problems as a relationship problems. But I can say it can put a routine together for you that
Mhm.
if it's not the routine that you're doing or the one that I'm doing or stuff, but you have something that can now start exercising that muscle. And I don't even want to pretend what the best because it's going to be different for everybody what does that. And but how do you think you have specific or could you encourage people with like specific ways of finding what that is? Do you want to say just try everything or what would you suggest for somebody who's beginning down this journey of yeah, I need to respond.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is the one thing everyone should do is slow down and just be aware, right? And you were talking about I just picked up a little bit. You talked about even your walks, but then you talked about your gratitude practice. You were talking about your devotional, and during at least all three of those, you're actually slowing down and being mindful of what's happening. I think
Mm.
with everything that we have going on, right? So with this cell phone that's always dinging and this thing going off, this ability to slow down and just be and be present, I think is one of the greatest skill sets that we can do. So that would be one thing that I would tell everybody they absolutely should. It should be a part of their routine. And I don't care if that's yoga, meditation, reading the Bible. I don't care, right? That for me, it's just being mindful and being present. After that, I always coach on taking care of your mind. So, what are you doing to do that? Are you reading books? Are you doing brain games? Do something to exercise the mind. We were talking about college earlier, and oftentimes I see where people stop educating themselves or stop learning because they're not going to school. It's like, no, 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 no. The brain is a muscle. You absolutely need to continue to work it out.
Yeah.
Right. And then the body, everybody knows. You don't need me to say anything more. Like everybody knows you need to move the body. Okay. And then the soul, that again, that's a very personal thing. For me, it's meditation. For you, it might be the devotional. For others, it might be hiking a mountain. There's no right or wrong answer, but being intentional to take care of these three major things, I think that's where you start to find like, oh, I like doing, again, for you and I, breath work seems to be important. Why? Because that really gets me in tune with my body so I can get into my other practices that much better. So that's kind of how I would break it down simplistic, is like mind, body, soul, take care of those three things and just make sure you're slowing down and being present.
I love it. How one of the things that I think that folks are they struggle with, because what I see as a distraction, they're like totally blindsided by how could that be a distraction? How do we help people identify this is a distraction and it's stopping you from all the things you're telling me you want to do in life? Because everybody, especially this time of year, right? Everybody has all these goals and visions and dreams, and then you look at their life and you go, "Whoa, you're just one big giant distraction, and you don't see any of it."
Mhm.
What's your thoughts on? Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what, if we get a great answer to this question, we've solved a major riddle.
Woo.
You know, I'll give you an example. I'm working with a company, and this group is talented. They're gifted, but from a leadership standpoint, they focus on a lot of noise, right? And that's the constant. It's like, oh my gosh, this fire, and it's like they're firemen with a hose around their shoulder, always putting out fires. And it's the question you're asking is exactly what I'm working with them on, is to realize what really moves the needle, what really matters,
Mm.
and what's just noise coming through, distracting you from actually accomplishing your goals, being fulfilled, doing, what, as you said, achieving everything that you set out to do. And that's again, the ability to slow down. And pen and paper, Brian, for me, this solves so many challenges. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's like if you have a problem, right. If you're really excited about something, right. If you have this idea, you should write it down. And it's not because there's a magic to it, but there is, because you're able to get all this stuff out of your head onto paper. And then it gives you some clarity to say, oh, that was actually just noise that I was worried about. That's actually never going to happen. And so that's one of the, I'll tell you right there, freest form of therapy is pen and paper, just journal a little bit. I think that can help a lot of people arrive at what really matters and what's noise, because the challenge with our minds are they're incredibly creative, but they're also incredibly destructive. I don't know. That would be my answer, brother. Do you have one? Have you figured this one out? Because this would be a
Oh,
major one to figure out.
I wish I could. One of the things that I just what you were saying, the pen and paper, and I'm a auditory, person, and I do write, but at the same time, like I do a post every day, that I don't post. I mean, I literally do the post. I put it on unlisted. Maybe someday I will actually post it, but no, because I don't want the distraction of, well, what if it gets views or it doesn't get views, or what if somebody doesn't like me? What if somebody? I'm putting a post out there every day into my own sphere of world so I can do just what you're saying. And I think what we don't do is slow down and just say, what did I do today? What did I want to do today? And why didn't I get to what I wanted to do? What are all the things, and it's hard because we're fighting with, the makers of every app that's on here is trying to keep us on the app, right? They're doing everything in their power to make us be distracted and stay there. I heard this crazy statistic of the amount of I don't know, it's 50 or 60% of these young men between 18 and 35 that are now in their late 20s and have never asked a girl out on a date. All they've
Whoa.
been doing, they're living with their mom, never asked a girl out on a date, and they're gaming all day long, every day. They don't have jobs for, so many of this culture. And we go, whether even some of them that already graduated college and couldn't find a job. But the fact that they haven't had that human interaction connection at 25 years old, where there's just no relationship whatsoever, that's what scares me. Because I think the distraction is, how many screens do you have? Just who are you interacting with that is a meaningful relationship, whether it's a girlfriend or not, whether it's just a human relationship that can be mentoring you, that can be walking you through, that can be helping you. That's how to me, that's how you start eliminating some of the distractions, is other eyes on you that you trust that can help you through that process. Because I don't
Mm.
know if we can see in our own mirrors and see.
Not very well. That I agree with.
Yeah,
We
we're looking in the
sound,
rear
look
view.
different than we think. That's right.
Yeah. And so it's having that one person go, wait a minute, I saw what you did today, or we talked about it. I hear what you're saying, but then this is what you're doing. And because I don't think we do realize it. So I guess that's my version of it. I want to make sure people know how to get. If you have some time, just to kind of give yourself a commercial right now, because I just started off. I usually start off with an introduction, but I was like, I know you. I know where you live. We just went off of Miami, so go ahead and just tell everybody that's watching that if you stayed this long, you have to know this information. So, yeah, please.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Let's Go Win. At the end of the day, if you look that up, you'll see my work at letsgowin.com, Let's Go Win podcast. There's several books, but there's a lot of free stuff on the website, and I welcome people to check it out. Because look, at the end of the day, Brian, what you and I are both trying to do is make the world a little bit better place than when we got here, right? And that's ultimately what Let's Go In is all about, is inspiring people to live their best lives. So that's what the intention is behind everything that we create. And I'd love for people to be able to interact with it and get the value. And if you don't, let me know that too, because I'd love to make sure to serve as best I can. So yeah, I appreciate it, man. And always good to talk to you, man. You have this just infectious smile and way about you, which is amazing. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, thank you for being on. If you're hearing this live or you're hearing it right now, we have an event this weekend. It's a goal setting with AI weekend. It's a 4-hour workshop on Saturday. So if you go to Becoming Through Action, we're going to do one every month. But Coming Through Action .live and check us out. I can't wait to spend time with folks that want to do this and get through and can get some understanding. I have 16 speakers that are this weekend, and we'll do another 16. JM, I hope you'll come and be a speaker, one of them, one of these months, and just really kind of talk about what helps us make life wonderful. Again, I believe you are God's greatest gift. He loves you. Allow him to. If you want to join any of the or just watch the replays, if you go to the routine.live, that is my morning thing. Now I'm going to try to get James information because I want to make sure that I'm doing some of the stuff he's doing. So I wrote some stuff down here. What was the last one you said? What was the
Qigong. Yeah, just
Qigong?
and
Okay.
all that means is energy practice. Qi is
Okay.
energy, gong is practice. So
All right.
7
Energy
simple
practice.
moves. Yep.
Well, I need me some qigong, so I'm gonna figure out how to do it. My nighttime is when I do yoga, so I do that. But I'm not obviously live on yoga, but I am trying to make sure that my energy and my breathing and myself is good because I want to be healthy. I'm 60 years old. I want to be here at 100. I think the oldest person alive right now is 124. So if I can get
Ooh.
to anywhere close to that, that would be amazing. So
You're not even
cool.
halfway there, Ben. You're just
I
getting
know.
started.
I'm just getting to the halfway point. Isn't that great? Oh, cool. Well, you guys have an amazing, incredible night. We'll look forward to talking to you on the next one. Thank you, JM. We will talk to you guys soon.